We went to the opening in the baseboard. "Justin," I said, "take the lead. Roll up the thread as you go. I'll bring up in the rear." No noise. There's sure to be somebody awake somewhere in the building. We don't want them to hear us. I did not want to leave the thread where it might be found. The more I thought about it, the more I felt sure Dr. Schultz would try to track us down, for quite a few reasons. Justin lifted the grid, pushed open the sliding panel, and one by one we went through. As I watched the others go ahead of me, I noticed, for the first time, that one of the mice was white. Then I went in myself, closing the grid behind me and pushing the panel half shut again, its normal position. With Justin leading the way, we moved through the dark passage, quickly and easily. In only 15 or 20 minutes, we had reached the end of the thread. Then, as Justin had told us it would, the shaft widened. We could hear the whir of the machine ahead, and almost immediately we saw the square of gray daylight. We had reached the end of the shaft, and there a terrible thing happened. Justin, you will recall, had told us that the machine, the pump that pulled air through the shaft, had switched from low speed to high when he had first explored through there. So we were forewarned. The trouble was, the forewarning was no use at all, not so far as the mice were concerned. We were approaching the lighted square of the opening when the roar began. The blast of air came like a sudden whistling gale. It took my breath and flattened my ears against my head, and I closed my eyes instinctively. I was still in the rear, and when I opened my eyes again I saw one of the mice sliding past me, clawing uselessly with his small nails at the smooth metal beneath him. Another followed him, and still another, as one by one they were blown backward into the dark maze of tunnels we had just left. I braced myself in the corner of the shaft and grabbed at one as he slid by. It was the white mouse. I caught him by one leg, pulled him around behind me, and held on. Another blew face on into the rat ahead of me, and stopped there. It was Jonathan, who had been near the lead, but the rest were lost, 6 in all. They were simply too light. They blew away like dead leaves, and we never saw them again. In another minute the roar stopped. The rush of air slowed from a gale to a breeze, and we were able to go forward again. I said to the white mouse, "You'd better hold on to me. That might happen again." He looked at me in dismay. "But what about the others? 6 are lost. I've got to go back and look for them." Jonathan quickly joined him. "I'll go with you." "No," I said. "That would be useless and foolish. You have no idea which shaft they were blown into, nor even if they all went the same way. And if you should find them, how would you find your way out again? And suppose the wind comes again? Then there would be 8 lost instead of 6. The wind did come again, 6 times more, while we worked with the screwdriver to pry open the screen. Each time we had to stop work and hang on. The two mice clung to the screen itself. Some of us braced ourselves behind them, in case they should slip. And Justin, taking the thread with him as a guide line, went back to search for the other 6. He explored shaft after shaft to the end of the spool, calling softly as he went. But it was futile. To this day we don't know what became of those 6 mice. They may have found their way out eventually, or they may have died in there. We left an opening in the screen for them, just in case. The screen, it was heavy wire, with holes about the size of an acorn, and it was set in a steel frame. We pried and hammered at it with a screwdriver, but we could not move it. It was fastened on the outside. We couldn't see how. Finally, the white mouse had an idea. "Push the screwdriver through the wire near the bottom," he said, "and pry up." We did, and the wire bent a fraction of an inch. We did it again, prying down, then left, then right. The hole in the wire grew slowly bigger, until the white mouse said, "I think that's enough." He climbed to the small opening, and by squirming and twisting, he got through. Jonathan followed him. They both fell out of sight, but in a minute Jonathan's head came back in view on the outside. "It's a sliding bolt," he said. "We're working on it." Inside we could hear the faint rasping as the 2 mice tugged at the bolt handle, working it back. Then the crack at the base of the screen widened. We pushed it open, and we were standing on the roof of NIMH, free.